Hey everybody, this is Sean Riley with Riley Real Estate and MassHomesale.com with this week's Q&A Saturday video. This week we are going to talk about are house flipping shows realistic? A few weeks ago did another video on reality TV, but that one was focusing more on home renovation shows, the ones that you see with buyers buying fixer-uppers and being able to fix those and how fake those are. I'll link to that one below so you guys can watch that one too. But today we're going to talk more about the ones where they show investors buying problem properties, fixing them up, and then reselling them for a profit. That is something that we do, so have some first-hand experience. So quick answer to are these shows realistic? No, they are not. They're not at all realistic. They do not portray the business very well at all. There's obviously some glimmers of truth to them, and some of the stuff that they actually show are not, completely unrealistic, but they leave out a lot of stuff. They leave out a lot of stuff, which is the biggest problem with the shows. I am going to try to keep this reasonably short because I could probably talk for an hour about this. But the main things that are problematic, first of all, they don't show anything about generally don't talk very much about how they found the deal, how any kind of negotiations that needed to go into it, and the actual purchasing of the property. They don't talk about how they determined what work needed to be done, what work should be done to it, how they found their contractors and came up with their pricing for that. During the process, they often have some drama about what's going on with the contractors, but they never really have any major problems with the contractors. Sometimes there's problems with the houses, but not generally with the workers, I should say. They don't ever talk about the holding costs for the properties. They almost always seem to either buy for cash or they don't talk about what kind of loans they may have on the property. This is fairly unrealistic. Anybody who, especially since these are supposedly professionals, rarely do they have huge amounts of unlimited cash, which they would need to be able to buy these projects over and over and over again without utilizing any kind of leverage. And finally, they generally don't talk about how much it costs them to sell the property. Sometimes they're real estate agents, sometimes they're not. So bare minimum, the ones who aren't should be paying commissions because they almost always seem to have real estate agents. So by doing all of this stuff, they leave out these huge parts of the actual process and huge amounts of cost that they never seem to take into account when they tell you how much profit they made. Beyond those, minor technicalities, they also seem to always give these budgets. They do a ton of work, and the budgets don't seem to be particularly high. One reason that they can do these things so cheap is generally because they have partnerships with the TV shows have partnerships with suppliers and advertisers where they get cheaper, free or reduced priced materials. They also can generally negotiate lower prices with the actual laborers because they're getting all that free publicity for their businesses. So right there, so the costs are usually a lot less than what they normally would be because of these factors that most people don't have. The next thing is they also seem to do these things really, really fast. You might be like, wow, I can't believe they were able to do a complete kitchen remodel in 2 days. That's because you usually can't. One reason they do that is because it's pretty typical that on these TV shows the contractors are working round the clock for pretty much the entire time that they're doing these things. And there's usually tons of laborers. On the camera you might see a few guys, but you more likely throughout the entire house you might have dozens of people working, where that's, again, pretty uncommon for your typical contracting crew. So they're doing these things much faster than normal as well. And then, of course, like I said, how are they paying for these things? So they pretty much insinuate they always do cash, which is not all that likely in the real world. There's different types of financing. We've done some stuff about the real costs of rehabbing houses. We'll put a link in there. And then those talked about what's called hard money loans, which are private lenders that charge a lot of money. so it's very expensive to finance with those types of loans, but they're easy to do on these types of properties that don't generally qualify for a regular bank mortgage because they need so much work. You can also get construction loans from banks. They're a little bit slower and usually need to have a little bit more experience before you can start getting those, but when you can get those, they are much cheaper, but you're still talking 5.5%, 1 or 2 points, and you still need to come up with a fairly sizable down payment to be able to start with those. But it is an option, but it's not free, and finally they basically make it like people are buying it with cash and have all the money to do the rehabs and stuff. Might be true, but some of these places, especially the ones that do stuff in like California or something like that, where they're often buying the fixer-upper for over $500,000 and then putting another $100,000+ into it. So not that many people have $600,000-$700,000 sitting in the bank to be able to do these things without borrowing any money. So one way they're able to do that is, again, often the TV shows extend a line of credit to the people to be able to make these purchases and be able to do the projects. So, again, that's not something most people have. So that's pretty unrealistic. So, aside from those, minor little details, you also always see a lot of drama. These are TV shows. That's the kind of stuff people are interested in seeing. They don't like seeing things without any kind of protagonist, antagonist, and people having conflict. So I have not done a show. I do know some people who have been approached to do these kind of shows, and they do talk about some of the artificial drama that are put into these things. The most obvious one is they always have some sort of target date for an open house, and it's like the end of the world if they don't hit that thing. So there's all this tension and drama and fighting to make sure things get done for that, and people staying up till the middle of the night, like finishing little things so they're ready for the open house in the morning. In reality, few people ever sell a house during the open house. They're not really that useful, and if I'm ever going to, if I wanted to do an open house this weekend and stuff wasn't finished, then I would just do it next weekend. So it's completely artificial drama in that respect. But then they also have the things where they fight with neighbors, they fight with their partners, they fight with the contractors. All of those things, obviously some of it could be real, but they actually have, according to one of the people I know who was interviewing for one of these shows, they actually have a bonus sheet for the amount you get paid if you have a fight with your partner, amount of money you have if you can get a fight with a neighbor on camera. They even had things for bonuses for being able to have an attractive woman with cleavage come into a shot. Not joking. So again, these things aren't necessarily as real as you think they might be. Anyway, so like I said, I don't want to drone on too long about this, but I could. Bottom line is these are not very good representations of what goes into these businesses. So for people who are looking to sell a house to somebody who does this, you're getting a very inflated idea of how easy it is and how much money it can potentially make because of all these costs that they don't put into it. And for those of you who want to get into the business, you have to realize that the way that these people are doing it, even the parts that are realistic, these professional people, this is not how it's going to go in your first project, because even if they have good contractor contacts and get better pricing and have cheaper financing, like I said, if they could get the commercial bank loans, which is cheaper financing, you're not going to get that on your first one. They don't even go that far, but even if they did, you're not even going to be able to get stuff that cheap usually. So it's just a bad representation for people who are looking to get into a business, and you might get burned. So, like I said, bottom line is, like most reality TV, it's not realistic. It can be entertaining. I like watching some of the shows. They can be pretty fun and but kind of funny sometimes, and they can be decent entertainment. But just remember, that's what they are. They're just entertainment with a very, very little kernel of accuracy to kind of give a little glimpse into that world. But for the most part, pretty poor representations of what goes on. Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't go too long. Definitely feel free to shoot me any kind of questions and comments below on this particular topic. Like I said, I could go on for a really long time. And as always, if you have questions you'd like to see in a future video, you can leave them in the comments below. You can also post it on our Facebook, our Twitter, send an email to info@masshomesale.com, or just fill out a form on the website other than the comments, and we'll try to get to any questions that people have. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next week, day before the AFC Championship game. Go Pats! Last week I talked about my NFL postseason pick, so you can look at that if you care. If not, I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye-bye.